Let's get you set for the Week 6 waiver wire. Next on Fantasy Football Today in 5. Welcome to FFT in 5. I'm Chris Towers, and oh my goodness, Daniel Jones just got sacked again. It's a little joke. He got sacked 10 times in this game Monday night. The Seahawks sacked the Giants 11 times total in a 24-3 win. And honestly, it's one of those games that I don't even know what to say. Like, it was such a mess, especially the Giants were such a mess that it kind of ruined the game for both teams, at least from a fantasy perspective. The Seahawks thrilled with their 24-3 win, their 10 sacks, their interception return for a touchdown. All of that was great for them. But on offense, this was a situation where Geno Smith threw 20 passes. He missed a little bit of time with a knee injury. Drew Lock came in, went 2 for 6, hit on a big play, but only 26 passes total. They dropped back 28 times. They ran the ball 23 times. They just didn't have a lot of offensive opportunities because they had one drive that they never got to because the Giants threw a pick six. They had a bunch of plays where the Giants kept the ball. The clock was running the whole time because of all the sacks. So it wasn't a situation that really created a lot of opportunities for the Seahawks. And I don't think you can really take anything from the relatively quiet games from Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. And then on the other side of the ball, I don't know what we can take away from this Giants team, except that I don't know if anybody here is worth using as long as Saquon Barkley's out. They've got a tough matchup next week against the Dolphins, and they've got the Bills. Both of those games are on the road before, Washington in week 17 or week 7. You might be able to use, Daniel Jones and Darren Waller there, but everything about this offense just looks really, really bad. Darren Waller, especially. I mean, we knew the wide receiving core was going to be an issue for fantasy, certainly, but especially, for the Giants. And it's been that way so far. They just haven't had anybody step up and make any plays. But the thing that's hard to wrap your head around is even with all the issues, even with all the sacks, even with how disjointed the offense looks, I don't see how Darren Waller only has 3 targets in a game where they threw 34 times and dropped back to throw 45, maybe 50 times with all the Daniel Jones scrambles. So it was just, I don't know what the game plan is. I understand that Darren Waller's, more of a downfield guy. And if if the pocket can't hold up, they can't get the ball to him, but dial up some screens, dial up some short opportunities to get the ball in his hands. He's their best playmaker without Saquon Barkley, and they just haven't found a way to do that. Maybe he's just lost enough of a step that it's not worth chasing, but I still think there will be better days for Darren Waller when this offense looks a little more functional. Hopefully that will start in week 5 if Saquon Barkley can get back, but you can't have any kind of optimism about this Giants team right now. And even Barkley, I mean, he's probably more like a low-end RB1 when he comes back from what's going to end up being at least a 2-week absence due to an ankle injury. We're going to move on to the week 5 waiver wire. I know in the intro, if you're watching this live, I said week 6. That was a little bit of a kerfuffle, a snafu, if you will. But week 5 waiver wire, I'm looking at Jamie Eisenberg's top options. Make sure you listen to the full episode of Fantasy Football Today to get that. And check out Jamie's full article on cbssports.com/fantasy on Tuesday morning for his full breakdown of every position's priority list. But right now, this is not a great week for the waiver wire, I will say. If you didn't get Devon Achane or Jerome Ford or Puka Nacua in the first 4 weeks, and you're sitting on a big fab budget, you probably want to hold on to it. Keep your powder dry. The only guy who might be, worth really breaking even like a 20% bid for is Jaleel McLaughlin, the running back for the Denver Broncos. And that's only if we get news between Tuesday morning and Tuesday evening that Javonte Williams is going to miss at least a week. And if it's just a week, it's probably not worth more than like a 10% bid unless you're really desperate, because we know Samaje Perine, he's still going to have a role. I think Jaleel McLaughlin is probably going to be, the lead rusher. He's certainly looked like the most dynamic option, but it's going to be a committee. That's what Sean Payton wants. Even when Javonte Williams is healthy, when it's Jaleel McLaughlin, I think it'll be a committee. But I do expect Jaleel McLaughlin to get more opportunities than Samaje Perine and to do more with the opportunities that he gets. So if Javonte Williams misses time, I do think McLaughlin is going to be a an RB3 who probably needs a touchdown to be an RB2, but still someone worth targeting. If you need some tight end help, there are a couple of interesting options. Jake Ferguson and Cole Kmet, both rostered around 60% of CBS fantasy leagues. Means they're probably not available in most leagues, but if they are and you need a tight end streamer, if you have Darren Waller, yeah, I might use Jake Ferguson and Cole Kmet ahead of Darren Waller at this point. I would definitely use those two guys ahead of Kyle Pitts at this point. And then a couple of, upside, low probability, but high upside wide receivers to target. Michael Wilson had 2 touchdowns for the Cardinals. He was a guy who earned a starting job and has been running a lot of routes for most of the season, but hadn't really been doing much to earn targets. But he made some plays in week 3, had a big week 4. There is some upside there. He's a guy who, produced really well in college, but had trouble staying healthy. So he's healthy right now. And then Jameson Williams, he was considered by many to be the most talented wide receiver in last year's class. He was a top 15 overall pick coming off an ACL injury. That tells you how highly the Lions thought of him. Suffered a hamstring injury in the preseason and obviously coming back from a suspension. So a lot has gone wrong for him in his NFL career. He also played 6 games last year, played about 60 snaps across those 6 games, and had 1 catch. So we don't really have much to go on except for pedigree and the belief that this guy was a very good prospect, but he's coming back. He's likely to be activated this week. 47% rostered. If you've got room on your bench, I think Jameson Williams is kind of just a dart throw at this point, but it's a dart throw worth making if you can afford it. So that's going to do it for FFT and 5. We'll see you tomorrow.